So hello everyone and good morning. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Don. I am a form developer from the Philippines and I have been with Qdabra for over 3 years now. And today we are going to discuss about dashboard filters. Before we proceed, let's just quickly discuss what a dashboard is. A dashboard is typically a progress report. It gives you a quick glance to see your metrics compared to the previous month, or a monthly report, or whatever suits you. Technically, a SharePoint library or a list view is already a dashboard, but using InfoPath, you will have a better control over the data. You can create a dashboard with a parent and child table relationship. You can query a database, you can manipulate the data you would like to query, and lots more. Mainly, an InfoPath dashboard will have a repeating table which we query from SharePoint, or if you have a larger amount of data, you could use a database. But what if you have thousands of data in your database? Now, this will affect your form's performance. Filtering your query would be one of your best options. Now, we're going to compare a regular SharePoint query, and we'll use a simple filter against an OData query with a Double Eval approach, and later on I'll be showing you the query DB operation using web services from DBXL. So a regular SharePoint data connection query can be filtered, but it's going to have its limitations. You cannot perform a contains or like query. You cannot perform a date range search, not equal to, and lots more. But a regular data connection query, it is easier to do, but again has limitations. An OData query, on the other hand, gives you a lot more control, but it can be complex. So I'm going to show you what a regular dashboard looks like. So here we have a dashboard that queries SharePoint, and we're going to query the employee. It does its job, but you know it's limited. What you can only do is provide the data which is equal to whatever you are searching for. Against an OData query, you can use a contains or like query. For example, you would like to search for all the entries with AL, and if I click on the search button, okay, so this was working earlier. Oh, there we go. So it's going to return all the data that contains the AL letters. So if I put here an approved, so you see it's performing a complex query wherein the first item is using a contains and the status is approved. Another thing you can do with OData is a date range search if you add it to your logic, because you can use filters like greater than, less than. So if I click here and search for a an older date. With a regular SharePoint query, what you can only do is query for the exact date. An OData, it gives you a lot more control. As you can see, it just performed the search. So moving on, one of the techniques that I like to, or I love to do, is a double eval approach. What's great about a double eval approach is that it concatenates data from a column. Now, this technique is out of the box. You don't need to write code. You can simply perform this using a bunch of rules or default data in InfoPath. And you can be very creative with your logic, and you can perform a lot of stuff. So I'm going to show you a sample form which has a double eval technique. So if we run this form in preview, I have here fields that have a default data or a default value that uses the double eval function. So what you're seeing right now is that the double eval approach is concatenating a single column from a repeating table. Now, you can use this also for people picker control. So let's just wait for it to perform the query. So does anyone have any questions at this point? Okay, so I guess we can move on. So I'm going to show you the form which has the double eval technique. So here we have the search fields. I created an XML that contains a repeating table and displayed the fields here. Now all of the search fields will be the item node from this repeating table, and I hid the other I hid the rows by simply adding a formatting rule that hides the row if the column is not equal to employee or manager or status. We can see the content of the XML I created if I just export this XML and show you what it has. So for the columns, I named these columns using the nodes from the REST data connection query or REST data connection. So here we have the manager, control, employee, then we have start date here, and the turn date. As you can see, these are the names of the columns, and then we have the type of filters used. The substring of is or performs a like query or a contains filter. We have equals, we have greater than, you can use less than, and lots more. Now, why did I use a double eval instead of a substring approach to declare what items to be searched? Well, if you have lots of search filters, using the double eval approach gives you better leverage, and it is easier to read the filter strings. Here's why. If we run this in preview, So now that I have it here, if we do a query here and click on the search button, okay, so we have queried the correct data, and if I show the data that has been queried, here we can see the substring that was created. So the substring of will be seen here. Now if we add another filter and click on the search button, you can see the query string has been updated. And what Double Eval is doing is that it's concatenating this column right here, string, and it combines it with the filter string right here. So you don't need to use the substring function to hide or to create the filter string for declaring whatever is needed for the search. Another thing that we can use the Double Eval approach for is for QueryDB. So we have here a complex form. This is actually the customer support dashboard that we use. So if I run this in preview, it's going to use the or query the database using QueryDB, which is one of the web services that DBXL offers. So I have here two types of search. You can search by a term. So searching by term allows you to search for multiple items. It's doing an OR query. So if I search for an item that is looking for Q rules, it will return all the data or the columns that contains Q rules for the contact, the description column. I think that's it, just for the contact and description column. So this might be a large search. There we go. So if we look down below, this is the string that was built using the OR query. If we view this in a notepad, I'm going to create the line breaks. So as you can see here, it searched for the term Q rules for the 4 columns, for doc ID, company name, or customer name, and summary, which is actually the description. Now I don't have company name displayed, but it's still querying that that column. We can also search for a ticket number using the same field. So if I just want to search for just one ticket, I could enter that here and click the search button. It's basically doing what I showed earlier. So an OR function that performs a like or contains query for the 4 columns. Now the other search query that this form does is, again, a Double Eval approach. And that concatenates all the data for the single column. So if I search for resolve and assign to Don Lambadan, it will return all the items that are resolved and assigned to me. So here's the table that used the double eval approach, and it concatenated this string column, which you can see here. Now if we now display this on Notepad, and you can see here it performed an AND query where the assigned to alias is equal to my username and the status is resolved. Now I did a pretty check here using the double eval technique, and here I added a trigger logic that sets the status to not query items that are resolved, so it should not be equal to resolved and not equal to closed when item is blank or the column status is blank. So if I set this to blank, it should be returning all the items, but because I added that logic, it's going to trigger that rule and set the status to not equal to closed and not equal to resolved, so it should return all the active tickets that are assigned to me. So does anyone have questions at this point? Okay, so we have a question here. Could you explain again how you built the query string? Okay, so for the OData query, I have a rule here that okay, here we go. So I have here a rule that when the item for substring of, so those substring of columns are employee and manager. So if the column that is substring of is not blank, it generates this filter where it gets the column. So this is the column. It gets the data here, employee and manager, and creates a space here and adds the filter. So the filter is this one. So it's going to concatenate that with the string, or just the filter string, and it adds the value or the item that has been entered. So again, if we view this in preview, okay, so if we enter an item here, let's say Jen, if the item is not blank and the column is employee or manager, it's going to generate the string here. So this is the filter string that's needed in order to get the value Jen for the employee column. Now if I enter something here like my name or my username, this gets generated. Now for the equal filter, it's going to perform a different or create a different type of string, which I'll be showing next. So that was the equal string. So apologies, that was a mistake. So if it's not equal to substring of, it's going to generate the equal string, which is this one. And if the filter is substring of, it's going to generate this type of filter. And this uses the OData or REST web service. So in order for us to search that, it's going to trigger the double eval field here at the form logic. And if this is triggered, it sets the value of itself to concatenate items under the string column where item is not blank. So it generates if we click search, it's going to trigger the double eval field, and it's going to create the filter or the filter string. It created this one, and I concatenated this string along with the URL for the change REST URL action. So I am setting the REST URL field here to the value of the URL string, and the parameter filter is getting the data from the double eval node, and I added a substring function to remove the excess and at the end of the filter. You will see that here, excess letters here. So I used a substring to remove that, and it created this string, which now performs the change REST URL action. It gets the value of the REST URL node from the form logic, and after we've done that, I performed the query. So it did the filter. Now the next question is your dashboard actually an info path form, or is it a SharePoint function? I'm not sure what you mean, but this is an info path form which I've published to SharePoint. So this is the OData dashboard right here, and it's a library. So if we go to training, master course, I have it published right here. So this is the library for that. If I click on new document, it's going to open up the form I published. So was this able to answer your question? It is basically a form that you don't save, correct? Yes, this is typically a form that is just opened and used for querying the data, just used for display. I did not use fields on the main data source. Even if we submitted this to a library, there will be no XML created. The data from this table is coming from a secondary data. What we can do, on the other hand, is perform a copy table technique and transfer the data onto fields on the main data source, and you can submit that to a library if you want to record your progress stats. So I think those are the only questions. So I'm going to wrap up the forms that was used for this webinar and send it to Karu, and she'll create a package which will be sent to all you guys. So that's it for now. Thank you for your time today, and have a good morning.